We had a month where we invoiced just under $1 million. You can have $1 million month, and you can have a cash month that is half that, or sometimes even lower than that. You get on the phone with your sales team and everybody is doing backflips, and you get on with your CFO and you're having an entirely different conversation.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to another round of Founder Real Talk. I'm your host, Josh Broward, CEO of Wisdom Partners, that's putting on the podcast. And we have today with us Aaron Warner. But before we dig in, let me update you. If you joined because you're one of Aaron's fans, you might wonder what in the world this is all about. Founder Real Talk is trying to tackle two problems, kill two birds with one stone. One is founders we talk to all the time say they're lonely. It's super hard being a founder, and you feel like you're wandering in the desert by yourself or carrying the world on your shoulders. And the other thing is most founders feel like they're failing most of the time, even when they're doing pretty good, because it feels like we're the only ones who are having this hard of a time with these problems. And it's just not true. So we want to normalize the struggle. So today we have Aaron Warner with us. He's the founder and CEO of ProCircular, which is a human-centered cybersecurity company that helps organizations turn their people into their strongest defense by aligning security, compliance, and business strategy. I was joking with Aaron. One of my friends 20 years ago he worked in cybersecurity, and he was all about the human side of cybersecurity. And he had a workshop called Hardening Up Your Wetware.
Yeah.
Making your humans stronger for cyber defense, basically.
The humans are a big part of the puzzle for sure.
Yeah. All right, Aaron. So welcome. Without further ado, so glad to have you here. Tell us what you do, what
Thanks,
problem you solve with ProCircular.
Josh. Yeah, a guy that builds stuff. I started biotech and I got 20 years there, and then I kind of lost my mind and started a company. And it feels like that a lot of the time. You're right. It's a strange experience. ProCircular, we're a cybersecurity firm. We do offense and defense and a little bit of everything in between. We've been really busy lately with organizations that are trying to get their heads around just what have I got? What are my risks? Where is it all? I think everybody feels a little bit overwhelmed right now. AI certainly has complicated that and made our phones a little busier as a result, right? A lot of people are trying to figure out. I think one of the big lessons from last year was, AI is this magical thing, and it can do kind of anything you want to throw at it, except that it will do anything and everything you throw at it. So we get a lot of people who are asking questions about like, all right, so what do I even do with this mess? Like, where do I start? And that's a lot of the work that we do. And it's increasingly AI, but the same sort of classic cybersecurity challenges. We do a lot in healthcare. We do a lot of manufacturing work. Not for nothing, this is the week of the Iranian invasion. So I suspect we're going to I know we've already got calls from clients who are like, hey, tell me about state actors. Like, do I need to be concerned about this? So honestly, Josh, it's the first job I've ever had where I was tied so closely to the news. When I worked in biotech, most of what we were working on was 5 years from now. So nobody really knew what we were doing. Cyber is in the news like every day. So I actually have to look for clients that way. It's a very different sort of, I'll call it lifestyle, because running a company is, I don't know, the job is the right word.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Why does cybersecurity resonate with you personally?
I like intractable problems. I know that's crazy, but I like, there are much simpler ways to make money. There are much simpler fields within tech than cyber, but I'm also honestly attracted to the people in cyber. Our firm and cybersecurity conventions are like this a little bit. It's a little bit like a menagerie. Like I have all kinds of people at the firm. Everybody, what you look like doesn't matter. And it brings just people in specific areas of expertise. It brings strange, different people from different perspectives together. I really love that part of it. Like I love being able to ask a group. One of my favorite things is having a group of 35 engineers, and I can say, how big a deal is this? What do you think? How have we seen this in clients? And I can get some really amazing answers. Like I'm as fascinated with this stuff as any of our clients are. So yeah, that part of it, just the people involved with it. And, it takes a little bit of, you got to understand the bad guys a little bit in order to do what we do. I don't know. I think I understand their perspective, the bad guys' perspective. A lot of them are broke. They're just trying to put two pennies together. The folks in Nigeria, there are no jobs there. And when you graduate with a degree in computer science and have no opportunities, stealing that corporate card doesn't look so bad, right? So yeah, I'm fascinated by the human element, and I like the complex nature of the project, of the problem. It brings really interesting people together.
So, what makes ProCircular different from your average cybersecurity firm? Are you guys, it sounds like you're a mix of software, consulting, maybe some education.
Yep. Um, I think the thing that one of the immediate differences that clients bring up is that we go right to why. People get really tired of IT people or technical people throwing acronyms at them and throwing, these really complex problem examples. And people really want to understand why any of this stuff is important. And I think that's one of the things we really excel at. We don't just do, I'll use the example of a pen test because it's something we're good at. We get paid to do reconnaissance, and then we'll sort of go around the organization and collect data and then go hit the organization. In the case of a pen test, we'll get in and try and move around inside of the organization. That's all great and stuff. And, that's sort of the sexy part of cybersecurity, but that's not actually the important bit. The important bit is on the other side of all of that activity that we can explain to somebody like, this is what we did, but more importantly, here are why that's problematic. These are the issues that you have. This is why you should care about the fact that we were able to do this and not that. Everybody's got risks. Most people have more risk than they know what to do with. It's really about trying to clarify that moment for the client, helping them understand, look, if you've got $5 to spend, this is the place that you need to spend it. We can help people figure that stuff out. So I think the difference is, rather than sending a 700-page technical report to the client and expecting them to kind of consume it,
Expecting them to be an expert and to
yeah,
read the report.
it seems a little disingenuous. Like, tell me why I care about this thing I just paid for. Help me understand that. So, and honestly, Josh, I was a customer. I was a CIO for a long time. So I've been on the other side of that table with a vendor who, they show up and their folks don't do nearly the work that your own team can do. And you end up, trying to explain to them what they're supposed to be doing for you. And we never wanted to work quite like that. So yeah, a lot of times it's explaining why.
Before we get into kind of your founder journey, let me ask you, uh, I don't know if it's a technical question. It's more of a strategy question about cybersecurity. I used to work in Kaiser Permanente's IT ops. I was a strategy consultant for them, and part of our department was the cybersecurity, disaster recovery, all of the prevention stuff. And one article that I loved that kind of went against the grain. It was a Gardner Maverick article, like a counterpoint. Like it said, most big companies spend way too much money on prevention, and instead they should radically invest in response. The idea was, you will be hacked. You cannot stop yourself from being hacked. What you really need to get good at is how to respond quickly, efficiently when you are attacked. Shut it down, protect your stuff, be able to reset. I'm curious what your perspective is on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting that's an interesting perspective. Strikes me, in cyber we run into a lot of zero-sum games. People like to demonstrate, you either do this or you either do that. And I think what we're talking about is sort of a balance. Um,
Mm,
one of the, for example, here's how I agree with you. One of the first things we like to do with a client is like a tabletop exercise, and it's very much along those lines. And part of the reason for it is that while we're working through these sort of larger risks with a client, we want to know that if a bad thing happens 3 days from now, we're reasonably prepared to deal with the situations. From that perspective, I think that guidance makes a lot of sense. You know, it is some of the best engagements we've done are have been those tabletop exercises. We did for a very large organization that had, I think there were 40 people in the conference room and probably 100 dialed in. It was a lot to manage. And the one thing that we found was that there was only in this whole huge call in this organization with millions of dollars in capabilities, only one person had all of the phone numbers they needed to deal with a breach. It was in one person's phone. That alone is a huge finding, and finding it out in that meeting rather than when the FBI is waiting and all hell is breaking loose. So yeah, I definitely agree with the whole, like, let's deal with the reality of the situation. There's a very good chance you've already been breached, or and you don't know it, or it's going to happen. So let's hit that head on. That said, though, I think the a lot of the work that you do to deal with, call it prevention or call it response, a lot of those steps are very similar. MXDR be a great example, right? Like you always roll MXDR or endpoint protection out after a breach, right? Like during an incident. We would also do that as a proactive measure. So that's one of the best ways to keep breaches from happening. So, you know, it's a little splitting hairs there, but I love the approach. Like, let's be honest with one another about the world we live in. You know, there's a really good chance that's already happened.
you can't build a fence high enough.
No, no. And fences don't work, by the way. I think that's a really valid point. There's no fences anymore. Your identity is out there. That fence is gone. In fact, it's not even about where you store a thing anymore, right? So in the world of cloud, is it in my domain? Well, it's your domain, but it's actually EC2. That's Amazon's domain. And, you know, so I think it's more about collecting, about protecting and understanding the disposition of the things that are important to you, documents or financial analysis or computer systems and so forth. Because the where part of it, like, you know, there used to be fences. I remember those days. It was kind of nice, actually. It was much simpler. Yeah.
It's almost a reverse of the Wild West. Like we went from fenced in to now everything is free range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit. And, you know, when you can do anything, what do you do? Uh, yeah. Yeah.
So what's a big win for you and the ProCircular team over the past year that you're really proud of?
A big win over the last year. You know, I think one of the biggest wins that we've had, I think we have a much clearer picture of who we are and kind of where we do our best work. You know, that first, we're 10 years in at this point. In fact, this is our 10th year. And, you know, I don't have to tell anybody who watches a founder podcast that first year is like, well, here's what I think's going to happen. And very rapidly finding out that doesn't bear any resemblance to reality or clients, what clients actually want. Or, I mean, maybe somebody gets it right sometimes, but I haven't met a lot of those people. Um, so yeah, in year 10, I think it's a lot about realizing who we are and the work that we do best. I think that, and to a certain degree, to the exclusion of other work. Cyber's tricky like that. There are nothing but rabbit holes. We'll stretch our metaphors. So now we're in an open field. There's no more fences, and there are rabbit holes everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
Tell me when we're done with this metaphor, but the rabbit holes go all the way down. I just spent, prior to this call, 2.5 hours researching private colleges They're clients of ours. They're clients that we serve. And I'm trying to figure out what their future looks like. They have a very, very difficult path ahead. Private colleges, there is no question they need cybersecurity. Are they a fit for us as a client, though? Like, do they have a budget? Do they have people inside of the organization that, yeah, that's the thing, right?
How big are they? Yeah.
And so it's a tricky one to separate need from desire.
Mm,
I'll
mm.
throw you the heavyweight champion of all of them, and I'm not speaking out of school here. I'm just frustrated. You may have just read Wynn got popped, the Wynn casino. MGM got popped before that. It was about a $2 billion loss. ProCircular services some gaming organizations, right? So when we started I did some homework. I'm like, this is a really good potential industry for us. Like, as a cybersecurity guy, if I walk into a casino, it's like a buffet of risks. It's like, well, that plugs into the network and that plugs into the network and that plugs into, like, take your pick. 70% of gaming companies do not have a named head of cybersecurity. 70%. So is it an interesting challenge from a cyber perspective? No question. Like that, there are risks all day long on it. You can go all the way down that rabbit hole. And they have, as an industry, reasonably little interest in discussing the topic. So, while we may find it intellectually interesting or tactically like risky, until the industry is concerned there's a problem, they're just not an industry we can really talk to. But every industry needs to be thinking about this in some way or another. Some are ready to have that discussion, some aren't. It's been hard to figure that out.
Let's double click on this. If I'm hearing you right, so you said your big win of the past year is clarifying what you do really well and what is not your sweet spot. And it sounds like part of that is clarifying your ideal customer.
Yes, that is the heading I would put under all of this. We've spent months working on that subject, just knowing that we're in our 10th year and it's time to think about that a little more.
What helped you navigate this discussion better? Okay, so that's a win. You got somewhere, but what was the backstory that enabled you to get to that win?
The ugly truth is, and this is the good stuff, Josh, everybody needs cyber, right? So when you get a phone call, and I'm just going to throw this out there, for a small library that's been hacked and there are police standing around, boy, you really feel like you got to do something to help that. You want to help everybody, but not everybody is able to, frankly, not everybody's able to pay for it. And it won't surprise you, engineering, cybersecurity talent isn't cheap.
Yeah.
The really good people are great, but they're not free. So it's helped us to avoid chasing people we really want to help, people who need the help, frankly, but we're just not in a position to help them out. We do have a business to run and payroll to make. And yeah, so if there's a big frustration, it's that. We see a lot of organizations out there that really could use the help, but either can't afford it or just aren't ready to come to terms with it.
We have a coach here at Wisdom Partners, a coach for coaches. And one of the things they talk about is the BID framework: budget, ideal client profile, and desire. So they have to have all three. They have to have the budget, they have to match your profile of what you're looking for, and they have to have the desire. It sounds like that's what you're saying.
Absolutely. That's a really nice, succinct way of putting it. And I think being honest about what isn't a fit, to a certain degree, it gives our sales team sort of permission to say no. And in this topic, again, it's, we're not selling sham wows, right? So the thing that we sell is critical, serious, and frankly, expensive. You got to be careful about who it is that you're targeting for something like that. Because if you ask anyone, hey, could you use some cybersecurity help? The answer is always yes. Can you afford it? Do you have the time to really think it through? Can you take the steps that are necessary? Like, we can run a test, but you need to be able to do something with those results in order to make anything out of it, right? So Yeah, we take a look at, we think about decision makers a lot. We think about the difference between like a technical champion and a governance influencer, somebody who's in a department that really knows they need a thing versus somebody who's further up the food chain. You dress them kind of differently, but they both have a part to play in that discussion. Frequently, we have found that our conversations are more useful with senior management on cybersecurity, and that did not used to be the case. We used to spend most of our time talking to CIOs. And I think one of the things I hear more and more often is that the CIO or the CISO or whoever has been screaming for budget for this stuff for years, they've just been ineffective at it. The president or the CEO or the CFO just decides that they're overstating the risk or the money's too big or something like that, and they look elsewhere. So a lot of the time I spend as a CEO, I spend trying to help other leaders work through, like, why do you need any of this stuff in the first place? Right? Like, again, why?
You're kind of getting at this already, but I wonder if you would be willing to share a lesson you learned the hard way. We define wisdom often as failure redeemed. So tell us about one of the hard knocks you got and what was some of the wisdom you earned from it.
You can get ahead of your skis pretty quickly if, well, I'll just lay it out this way. You know, some of the bigger mistakes, there are part of the reason that it takes me a while to answer a question about which mistakes is that I have made so many mistakes
Yeah,
that it is
everybody says
difficult to
that.
sort out which one would be the one. I would say, the thing I've really struggled with is cash. I'm a technical guy. I went back and got my MBA because I did not speak accounting. I didn't speak, these MBAs were showing up in our firm and I didn't understand a word they had to say. And I, generally speaking, I didn't like them much. They tended to hide what felt like hiding information from me. So I'm like, well, you know what? I'm going back to school. So I went back and got my MBA and learned a few things about finance. You can be really, really successful with client acquisition and still have a hell of a problem from a cash perspective. How's this for specific? I won't say which month, but we had a month where we invoiced just under $1 million. It's a good month, right? Like,
Great.
That's a great month. From a cash perspective, that $1 million was more like 550,000.
Mm.
My people are more expensive than that.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can have $1 million month and you can have a cash month that is half that or sometimes even lower than that.
Yeah.
You've got to find a way to stretch that $600,000 difference, right? And those kinds of situations, I mean, there are all kinds of ways to address the situation. Floating line of credit is typically the way people address this sort of stuff. But nonetheless, you can have a month where you get on the phone with your sales team and everybody is doing backflips and it's a great month, and you get on with your CFO and you're having an entirely different conversation. It's like, what the hell? Like, I want to go back to that last call. That was so much more fun than this. So yeah, I would say one of the things that I've learned the hard way for sure is that there's a big difference between a sale and the cash implications of that sale.
Mhm.
A good CFO makes a big difference there.
Thank you for that. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
that's
And
pretty
that's something.
specific.
Well, it's everybody deals with it, maybe with more or less zeros,
Yeah,
but
hopefully more.
yeah. Well, when you're starting out, it's less, but I was just talking with a client last month. He's like, we're about to have our best month ever. I can't afford it.
It's
Like,
so funny. It's
yeah,
so funny that, yeah.
he's like, we're gonna onboard so many customers, and
I have
I don't
no
know what.
idea how I'm going to get this done. Yeah,
Right.
sure.
How am I going to get the money to pay for the first month? Because it's going to take so much.
It's funny that you bring that up. We have a situation where I have an opportunity. We do cyber stuff, right? So I have lots and lots of tools, evil little tools that tell me things about bad days. We have a relationship, and this organization would like us to scan. They have 6,000 clients, and they want us to scan all of them ahead of time, prepare a report on every single one of them, sort them out so that some are going to be critical. And I know some 3% of them probably already have an incident, like an actual, you need to get people here this afternoon. 10% are going to have super critical issues, like some things that order is out of date, cloud is wide open, they have a bucket, an S3 bucket that's everybody can see, like that kind of horrible stuff. And then the rest of it is probably like, you need to get your house in order, or in some cases, you look really good, no risk. The problem is that if I run that, I know something about what I'm going to see. If I run it 6,000 times, it's going to break down about like that. So you take 6,000, 10% of them are on fire. That's 600 people on fire. That's a lot more people than I employ. So maybe we shouldn't scan all 6,000 of these clients for these guys. Like maybe that's not a question we're ready to answer yet, right? Like it's tricky stuff. You hear these stories of people having successing themselves to death or growing into death or what have you, but it's easy to dismiss that until you see it happening to yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, other than the potential for a 6,000 scan customer, what's the biggest challenge you're trying to solve right now?
We're a firm that's done really well in a specific geography with a specific kind of set of industries, and we are trying to grow nationally. Making that national leap without having to bring on private equity money is a tricky thing. Doing it bootstrap, I don't know which is easier, honestly, because private equity does not tend to simplify your life. Understatement of the year. But they also provide you resources that you use to do things like this. So, to a certain degree, that's probably the big thing. Our growth, we're ready to tackle it. The team, the engineering team, that's the part I'm good at. The engineering team, the operational groups, the analysts that we have in house, we built this Ferrari, and we're just looking for places to go drive it at this point. Like the team is very, very good. I just need the right gas and the right tracks to put it on. So that's honestly I think our challenge, and it may be particularly visible because there are all kinds of different CEOs, right? Like I'm very jealous of CEOs who are sales guys, right? Because that's my greatest weakness. That's my weak spot. I'm sure there are CEOs who would tell you, God, I wish I understood what we did a little better. That part, I get that part, like
Yeah.
the technical bit of it, but I'm not a natural sales guy. So,
Mm.
if there's a thing that keeps me up at night, it's that. It's the thing I'm least good at.
What's the hardest part of sales for you?
I don't like asking for money.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
to oversimplify it, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
Let me
like
just
asking
help
for
you. I want to help you so much. Let me
I
just help. Let me
You've
just
no
solve.
idea what I've seen. You've no idea. Like I've sat across this table from you guys, from 50 versions of you guys, and I know exactly where this heads if you don't do what you should do. Help me, help you. It's like that shower scene, right? Like that's the half of my life.
Yeah.
Help me, help you.
How do you I mean, I know it's a challenge you're actively working on solving. It's not unique. Lots of CEOs hate sales. What are some tricks you've learned to overcome that resistance to make the ask?
Mo, when times are challenging, I always look for what we have, what we know. What do we have? Like what's available? I have very, very bright people. I have mountains of data and folks who know kind of what to do with it. I have all of these amazing new tools in the form of Gemini and Claude Code and things like that. I think between those points, we're able to get the facts together. And the data are usually the thing that sort of answers a lot of those questions for me. So we tend to go back to what the data shows, what other people are doing and so forth. That's a far more comfortable conversation for me. That said, though, it's the reason we have sales reps, right? Like I'm more the CEO that you would bring in to have a technical discussion. Like, listen, I have worked in manufacturing. I know exactly the situation you're dealing with. I'm that guy. If you want the, like, I don't know, song and dance part of it, I don't even know how to do the song and dance. Yeah.
I'm tone deaf and two left feet.
That's right. That's right. I'm not, I'll put it this way. I have a friend who's a chef, and like a chef owns a restaurant and all of that. I think there's a big difference between being a good a chef and a cook. You can be a really good cook. I can knock out a 6-course meal if you like. Give me some time and I'll put it together. What I can't do is knock out a 6-course meal for 20 tables 6 nights a week. That's a chef. Right? Like, whole different ball game. I look at sales kind of the same way. I can I can sit down and have a conversation about, that sort of thing, but can I tee up 60 of those conversations a week or a day or whatever? No. I'm not. So yeah, I look for really capable people to help with that. Can't be good at everything.
How have you been investing in yourself as a leader? You've got some big goals for growth and expansion, and you're probably the hinge there. You're the tip of the spear. How are you investing in you?
I'm lucky. I think about this a lot in that I never had to pick what I do. I have always been a technology guy. I know a lot of people who have to go to college and do I want to be a lawyer or an architect or mathematician, social worker? Like, I don't know, you figure it out. It's never really worked like that with me. So, to a certain degree, I'm not sure that my answer is useful to you. But the answer is I follow the things I enjoy. And what I happen to enjoy is also the thing that I do for a living. Artificial intelligence. I probably spent 20 hours on keys this weekend doing some AI work. I like Halloween and I'm curious about Claude Code and 11 Labs. So I built animatronics. I built this 12-foot monster in my garage and he talks and his mouth moves and head moves and arms move. But I built all of it entirely with AI. Did I do it for fun? 1,000%. I love Halloween. It's going to be super awesome. I have kids come from all over the area to come see our house. But I am also learning, like, I would like to think I'm fairly expert in Claude Code at this point. Like, I think I know how it works. And I did it by making Count Orlock talk. So my short answer to your question, the research that I do comes from the love of the things that I do. It is a natural part of my life. I don't have to plan for it. If anything, I have to dial it.
Yeah.
My wife will say it would be a good idea for you to go outside.
You're turning into the vampire in your.
You are turning into your own Nosferatu. That is exactly right.
So,
Yeah.
Aaron, if somebody out there is listening to this and they think this guy sounds great, ProCircular sounds great, who can they introduce you to? What kind of intros are you looking for?
We're really good with those companies that maybe they have kind of an in-house program started, or maybe but they figured out at some point that they're like, we really need to get organized about this. We have this or that, but I don't know if I'm confident that it's doing anything. We're really good at helping mid-market firms get their arms around cyber. We're really good with organizations that, while they have a budget, they're careful about it. Cyber is a place, Josh, you know this, that it's a hole you can throw money into if you want to, right? You can spend whatever.
Buy the trash can full.
Yeah, well, you don't, not to be snippy, but there are a lot of cybersecurity firms that have Formula One cars. Those aren't free. And their prices reflect that, right? You can spend Formula One money on cybersecurity, right? Most people don't want to do that. Most people can't do that. So we like mid-market organizations. We like organizations that have kind of come to the conclusion that, it's time to do something real about it. And organizations like that, we can help to turn it to a competitive advantage. What's really fun is to tell one of your competitors, like, hey, here's our SOC 2 report. Why don't you go ask those guys for theirs? See what they have to say. A lot of our customers, like a CMMC is a similar thing. Like, well, have they looked into this? Because we're ready. we're certified to do this, and our competitors probably aren't. So while cyber is a lot about offense and defense and keeping bad days to a minimum, and to your point, beginning of the call, preparing for those calls or for those days, right? That's a big part of it. But you can also use this stuff as a strategic advantage, as a differentiator. Nobody wants to hold out that they're unhackable. That is a very bad idea. But making sure your customers know that you're taking steps, taking credit for it, making sure that your customers know you're doing something that your competitors aren't. Those are both things we can bring. So yeah.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks so much for bringing some real talk
Yeah.
to other founders out there. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you bringing all of us weird malcontent entrepreneurs together. It does get a little lonely out there. It's nice to know that there are other people in the same situation.
All right.
Thank you, Josh.
Aaron. Folks out there, follow us along for the next Founder Real Talk. We got a YouTube channel. We're on Spotify, all of that stuff. Thanks for joining us.